All right, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to I Am Possible. Now, before we get going, I'm just going to ask you guys if you cannot send me any texts while I'm up here. I'd appreciate that because when you're moving around, you're hosting, and all of a sudden somebody sends you a text, it's like hitting a wall, and it can really throw you off. So if you have any comments like that, please save them for the end. I'd really appreciate that. Also, if you could stay clear of this top step here, this way nobody blocks the display, and it gives me a little bit of room to do the whole hosting thing, right? Also, you may have noticed that at the top of your menu wheel, there's a microphone icon there, and it's recently been turned to red. When this is clear, we can hear you and hear what's happening in your environment. So we've gone ahead and we've turned that to red, and this means that you're muted. Now, just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice in your menu you have a pink cheek smiley face. And when you click on it, your emoji panel will open up in the air before you, giving you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. So if, for example, somebody shares something really deep and powerful and it builds up inside you, you can just let it out just like that. Maybe somebody shares a story where they're like swinging across some quicksand, Tarzan style, right? And you're very impressed and throw up the applause like that. And then, they can feel appreciated, right? It takes a lot of courage to get up and share stories and everything. Also, if somebody asks a yes or no question, you can say yes like this by smiling. You can say no by frowning. Or maybe somebody tells a story that really resonates with you. You can smile and show some support. Or maybe it's a sad story, so you frown and be like, "Oh, that's a really sad tale, man. Why bring me down?" Right? You also got this silly faced emoji to indicate they're laughing. Maybe somebody tells a funny story, right? And then you got this. This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis, right? And the way we're going to use this is not to ask a question or not to get on the list. We're going to show you how to do that in just a moment. You're going to use this to get my attention in the event that something goes wrong. If only one of them goes up, right, I'm probably just going to keep on going. But if like 5 of them go up one time, I know it's something I got to address. Like, maybe I'm moving my arms around here and it looks like I'm talking, but nobody hears anything, right? Or, maybe the display behind me's burst into flames. We really should have rethought that slide, huh? Because, it's got the whole flames thing going on. But that actually happened once. Our moderators had, seen one episode too many, and they decided to take matters into their own hands and, liven it up a little bit by setting my stage on fire. Didn't appreciate it, but, still needs to be said. So I'm going to rely on you guys, my audience, to tell me if there's any kind of problems, right? You can also press the X to close the emoji panel, but it's a good idea to leave the panel open during events like this. It's a great way to give me feedback. It lets me know how I'm doing, but more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So if the person next to you is going like this, that means they found something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, "That's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here." And you can do that because this is VR, except maybe not on this top step, because we already agreed that was our sacred pact. That was our bond. All right. What's I Am Possible about? All right. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to open up. You're going to see on the lower right a raise hand button appear as if by magic, right? That's what magic looks like in VR, right? And that's going to get you on the list. If you have a story that you want to share, you're going to get on that list. And in between pauses, in between stories, we're going to pick on somebody, or like choose somebody to tell their story and share that. Now, this is being broadcast on YouTube. It goes up in about a couple of weeks. So if you tell a story and you're like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that. My mom's going to watch this. What do I do?" Just see me after the show and tell me, like, "Listen, I'm not cool with that going out on the air. We'll make sure we cut it out." Okay. That'll, help a lot with it. Sometimes people, should share some personal stuff in here and they're not comfortable with it going out. So, we have no problem doing that if that's what happens. But yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is that word itself, impossible. And, basically anytime that you yourself or somebody or maybe a story you read overcame difficult odds, right, and got the thing done, right, that's the kind of thing we're going to want to hear about. I'm going to start out, right, and in between stories, we're going to call on other people, and if there's nobody on the list, I'll keep going because pauses are the natural enemy of the Altspace event host. It's true. All right. Now, where I first got acquainted with this word is when I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, New York. And I had a bunch of bullies chasing me around one summer, and pretty much every day that summer, they chase me down this alley and they beat me up and they tell me stuff like, they'd say, "Don't run, escape is impossible," right? Now, I thought I knew what that word meant, right? Impossible meant you couldn't do that thing. And, they tell me, "Don't fight back. It's impossible," right? "You could never win. It's impossible." And they kept saying that word, right? So, eventually I stopped fighting back. I just kind of started to accept it. And around this time, my dad, he owned a bar, and he had a customer come in with a shopping bag one day. And the guy had a few drinks, and, right when he was about to settle his bill, he asked my dad, he says, "Do you have any kids at home?" And my dad says, "Yeah, I have 2 boys." And the guy says, "Oh, they're going to appreciate this." And he picks up that shopping bag and he puts it on the bar. And my dad, he looks inside it, and I think he's thinking maybe it's a sack of money, right? Like, "This is the biggest tip I ever got." And he looks inside, and it's not that at all. It's a stack of Batman comics. So he brings them home, and he slides the first of them under my bedroom door. When I got up the next morning, I picked it up and I read it. And I didn't read this like a kid reads a comic book. I read this like it was an instruction manual, right? And what I did, right, was I took a backpack and I modified it. I filled it up with like glass marbles and I put like a drawstring on the pocket, right? And that day, when I went into that alleyway and those kids started chasing me, right, I reached back and I pulled on that drawstring there really hard, and you could hear the clatter of all the glass marbles on the concrete bouncing off, right? And I kept running, and I got further than I ever got before. I got to the garages, and I got to this wall on the other side of the garage, and I scrambled up that wall, and I got on top of the garage, and I looked back down the alleyway, and I saw these kids. They were all falling all over themselves, right? And I started laughing. They was trying to get up, and they'd fall down. It was out of a movie, and I started giggling. I was laughing so hard, and then all of a sudden I stopped laughing because it dawned on me. I had just done what they said could not be done. I had just done the impossible. And it dawned on me that impossible is just a word that people use for something they haven't done yet. And I thought people needed to know. So I went to the library, and the statute of limitations is up by now, so I can confess what I did that day. I'm not proud of it, but I went into every single dictionary in that building, and with black magic marker, I crossed out the word impossible in every single one. I thought I was doing a public service. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I thought people needed to know, right? And ever since that time, when I hear that word impossible, it's kind of like a dare. Right. So now, if anybody has a story that they want to share that, where they overcame difficult odds, we have 2 people on the list now. We've got, we've got Angela. We're going to start out with you. Angela, you got something you want to share today? You're on the air.
Yes.
I feel radio.
Yes.
Come on up. Let everybody see you.
Okay.
Get on that top step. Feel all space famous. Here we go. What do you got for us?
Funny. So, I don't know. I think it's been maybe 2 weeks ago or either a week ago. I'm losing time with the COVID stuff, but I came in here, and the day before I was so frustrated. I was so upset because I was taking this course and C# and Unity, and it said that it was supposed to be only 7 hours a week, and it was taking me more like 3 or 4 hours per day. You could do the math. And so I was just like, there was like 5 units to it, I think, or 6, and I had 2 more to go. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm just done with this. I'm like, it's just taking way too much. My taxes are coming up. I'm going to quit. I'm really thinking seriously about quitting. But then I came to this particular show, and I kept hearing things like, I don't know, maybe one of his slides, I think back there said, you're stronger than you think you are, or something. Mm-hmm. And I just kept hearing about these stories where, you can do it, and it's all about a mindset. And I think you had one up there that said, if you can believe it, you're halfway there. One of the, and so I was like, okay, how am I going to feel about this after it's done? Do I want to feel defeated and remember that I quit that course, or do what's going to serve me? And I knew I really don't like being defeated on things. And then the other thing was, well, I've got people that are looking at my life, including my daughter. What kind of example do I want to set for her? So I don't know. The next day I got some rest and felt a little bit better. And I'm like, I'm not going to do this or that. Is it my taxes or the class? I'm going to figure a way to get both of them done. And so today I turned in my last assignment on that class, and I'm finished with it. And I've got 14 days to get my taxes in. So that's awesome. My success story.
Wow. You know what, Angela? I got to tell you, you made my day today, because when we started this event, this was only supposed to be a one-time event, right? And during that first event, people would share their stories, and they told us that, from basically going over stuff, we realized it wasn't the word itself. It was our relationship to the word that limited us, right? And it was my hope when we had this event that somebody would come here that was facing like a difficult assignment at work or school. Maybe they were in a difficult relationship, and it would maybe inspire them to push through. And the fact is, it actually did that for somebody. Even if it did it for only one person, it made it absolutely worth it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. Wow, I really like that. That's cool. All right, we also have Norbert on the list. Norbert, you got a story you want to share? You're on the air, and I feel like a radio host. Norbert, where are you, Norbert? There you are, right there in the middle.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button, guys.
Oh, that's fine, Norbert. That happens all the time. Yeah, everybody does that. Okay. I've done it myself too. It happens. It's just a button, nothing to worry about. All right, cool. All right, let me just get you off the panel here. And I don't see that we have anybody else, so I'm going to go into another one. All right, this one was, because again, pauses are the natural enemy of the event host. But if you want to actually get on the list, you want to share a story where you yourself overcame difficult odds, or maybe it was somebody you knew, or maybe it was a story you read, maybe it was something you saw in a movie once, and you want to share it, please feel free to by pressing that raise hand button, and you will that'll get you on the list, and at the next pause, we will call on you. But yeah, so early in the U.S. during the gold rush days, when they had prospectors going around all over the place, there was an old miner, and he came into possession of a gold mine, right? And he started working that mine each and every day. And at the end of every day, he would go into town and go to this saloon, and he'd have a drink and to unwind and everything. And every day there was a man who would come up to him trying to buy the mine from him. And the miner said, "There's no way I'll ever sell this. I know there's gold in there. I can feel it in my bones, and I'm going to keep on pushing until I get it." every day he went in and worked that bar, worked that mine. And every time he came into that saloon, he looked a little bit more beat up, He looked a little bit more worn down. He looked, real haggard and stuff. And then one of those days came along, and you've all had these, right? Where nothing goes right. His pickaxes were broken. His fuses were wet. He was really up against it, and he came to that saloon, and he looked absolutely beaten. And then a man came up to him, and before he could say anything, the miner said to him, "Look, I'll sell you the mine. You can have it." And he gave it to him at a good price, right? A few days later, the miner comes into that saloon, and he sees the man he sold the mine to celebrating. He's up there, and he's, having a tight pie, and everybody drinks, and he's all lit up, and he's all happy. And the miner went up to him and said, "What's the occasion?" And the guy says, "Well, that mine you sold me, we hit gold." And the old miner was like, "Oh, you got to tell me. How close was I?" And the guy says, "We only dug about 3 feet." Now, for the rest of that miner's life, he kept telling himself, every time he was about ready to quit, every time he was about ready to give up, he'd keep telling himself, "I'm 3 feet from gold." And you keep on pushing, right? And you keep on going. And life is like that. When you feel like you're hitting the wall, right when you're about to give up, in that moment, you're about to break through. And if you keep on pushing a little bit longer, right, you're going to do the thing. And then you're going to feel like you've done the impossible. You're going to do what you yourself didn't think you could do. Right. So it's important when that comes up in life, you just keep on pushing and see where it takes you, because it can really, it can really change your circumstances drastically. All right. I don't have anybody on the list here. So you know what? I'm going to have to do another one. All right. That's cool. I can do that. All right. This one actually took place in the early to mid 1980s. Right. And there was a couple who had this child, and he was about 4 years old. And at the age of 4, he could already speak 3 languages. All right. Needless to say, his parents were very proud of him. He was a good kid. And he was just starting school around that time, and he started getting in fights with other children, and he started like behaving in ways that his parents knew just weren't him. Like he was slurring his words, he was bumping into stuff, he was falling over. They just knew something was wrong, like parents can just tell, right? And they took him to the doctor, and the doctor, said, well, the father travels around a lot. Maybe it's some kind of thing he brought home. Maybe it's some kind of virus. So they kept doing all these checks on him, and eventually they diagnosed him with a disease I have no business trying to pronounce. It's commonly known as ALD. Right. And the doctor told him that this is fatal. He only has a couple years to live. And, you're going to go home, spend what time you can with them, but you're going to need to accept this. And they gave him a number of a support group and sent them on their way. But the parents said no, right? They refused to accept it. So they kept contacting all these doctors, getting second opinions. They kept asking questions, and all the doctors kept telling them the same thing. Look, spend what time you can. Right. And then the support group even actually came to their house and, was like telling them, like, look, you got to come to terms with this. You can't be looking for a because there is none, and you're just a couple of lay people. You don't know anything about medicine, right? And they said no, right? And they started spending all the time so they can research libraries. They started, reading about animal experimentation that was going on, and they read about this oil that had the property of separating the lipids from the blood in such a way as they thought would slow down a disease. And they got very excited about it, and they went to the doctor and said, "Look what we found." And the doctors are like, "Listen, you guys, you're not doctors, all right? You got no business trying this." And they didn't give up, though. They started adding this, to the son's food. And, slowly but surely, the disease started to actually slow down. Right. So they felt they were on something. So they started contacting all these, chemical companies and all these pharmaceutical companies. And back then, they didn't have email like they do now. Right. So they were doing like all these handwritten letters. They were, making these long distance phone calls, very expensive. And but they kept going. They contacted over 100 of these places. And finally, one of these letters landed on the desk of a chemist who was about to retire that day. And he read this letter, and he was so touched by it. He contacted the couples, and he said, "Listen, I'll make this stuff for you. I'll refine this oil, but we're gonna have to call it something. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to name it after your son." And they called it Lorenzo's Oil. They even made a movie about this. You can check that out if you like. And what happened was the son actually got this oil, and he lived to the age of 28, where he eventually did die of pneumonia from complications that he got early on in disease. But they didn't just sit still. They started sharing this information. And anybody that, was diagnosed with having these markers in the blood, they started giving them the oil before they got sick. And a lot of these people, they went on to live very full lives, very long lives. And eventually, before this couple passed away, actually, I think the wife passed away. And right after that, the doctors actually came out saying, yeah, there's absolutely something to this oil. We're researching it now. And, they really, changed a lot of lives like that. So it's sometimes just saying no, refusing to accept a thing can actually, go on to change. And you got to remember, these were regular people just like us. They only had a high school education with regard to math and sciences, and gradually they learned the language of math and of science just because they were driven to, just because they refused to accept this outcome. And a lot of times just saying no is enough to push it through. All right, I'm not seeing anybody else on the list here, but if you do have a story that you would like to share, a story where you overcame impossible odds, or somebody you know, or maybe a story you read, just press that raise hand button and we'll keep on going. I'm going to, I guess, share another one here. And this one comes from my own life. Let's say about 5 or 6 years ago, I was living in Brooklyn, New York, and I worked from home. So I was at home an awful lot. I didn't really, go outside that much because I was very into what I was doing work-wise. And, what happened was gradually people, I had noticed that I was starting to like slur my words and stuff like that. And it kept getting worse, and it got to a point where I would spend all day trying to remember how to write a check. Something was really wrong. My parents took me out for breakfast one day, and they could just tell that there was something really just off about me. So they got me out of there. All right. And when they went in to help me, move my stuff out and get my stuff packed up, they noticed like the air in there. There was something off about it. There was like my mom said it was like a presence, and not like the place was haunted or anything. Just like you could tell there was something not right. It wasn't like a smell, but it was just like you could just tell. So you just felt it was off. So they had the air tested, and in the air sample they took, only 10% of the air was actually oxygen. The rest of it was comprised of two of the deadliest molds known to mankind. This is just after Hurricane Sandy, if anyone's familiar with that. And so, what happened was, when as soon as I got out of there, my body started to push the mold out, right? And what this took the presence of my heart would speed up and it wouldn't slow down. So my heart would beat for like 20 hours a day in a way that it would beat if you were running a race, would not slow down. I started getting vertigo all the time. I started feeling like I was going to fall over. And I was at my then girlfriend's house, and I felt like, I was staying in her apartment. I'm laid out on the floor for about a year, and it actually felt like there were times where I get up, and I felt like I was going to pass out. And one time I actually fell down and hit my head on the sink, and it was just really bad. It was just a really hard, really rough time. But I kept telling myself that whole I am possible thing. I didn't want to give up because I was like, you know what, it's not going to end like this. I got to see how it ends, and I kept on pushing. Right? I kept doing research. I kept trying to find out ways to make it better, and I tried everything. But really, I think the only thing I really needed was time. And I kept on pushing. And eventually, I got moved in a place I'm at now in Pennsylvania. And, I was in debt all the time. And then, I was looking for ways to get more active. My family, they got me an iPad to kind of reconnect with the world. And I saw a commercial for the Oculus Go, right? And I thought, wow, could be a way for me to be active again. So I came into Allspace. Right. And I volunteered pretty much my first day. Everybody's heard me tell the story in Go Time. If you've ever been there, I looked up, I saw this guy, and I was grateful. I started volunteering, but I started putting on events as an event host. And this had a strange experience. Like, because when I was sick, and you guys know this from COVID, right? You've been doing that whole staying at home thing, and you lose track of what day it is, right? So that was my life. I barely knew what day it was. I was there laying in bed all the time. And what happened was, the more time that went on, when I started doing this hosted thing, suddenly I had somewhere to be. There were people in the audience. I mean, you see these avatars around. These are all people. And they were depending on me to be there. So like, Tuesday at 7:00, I've got to be there. Right. And all of a sudden, I started feeling useful, and my range started to increase. And I started building things like this space that you're standing in. We used the impossible word quite a bit when we were building this, because we built this on an Apple iPad with an old laptop that couldn't run Unity for more than 15 minutes. All right. And we kept on pushing. And eventually we came up with this we called the Ravenhall Forum. And now we can all gather here under the stars and trade these kind of stories. Right. And so, I kept on pushing. And to do this, I want to build more stuff. So that was going to require me getting my hands on a computer. Right. So we got a computer, and then I didn't even know at the time if I'd be able to sit at the thing all day. Right. So I'd go over there and I'd sit there and I'd feel like I was going to fall out of the chair because that vertigo was hitting pretty hard. But then after that, I built my strength up a little bit more. I started playing that Beat Saber. Right. And that built up my stamina a little bit more. And then recently, during one of our shows, we had somebody keep coming in at the beginning of it. He kept talking about this game that's called, Echo, what is it? Echo Arena? Yeah, Echo Arena. And in it, you see that? Yeah, somebody's played it, right? And you have Turtletoes played it. He knows, right? And in this, it's zero gravity, right? So like, I figured this is going to make me really dizzy. This is going to mess with my vertigo. But you know what? It turns out I'm actually really good at it, right? It is. I was scoring goals left and right. And I telling myself, I am possible. And I kept throwing it off like that. It was really a great experience. So yeah, that's what happened. And things keep getting better and better with regard to that. But you just got to remember those, those two letters, it makes all the difference. You keep telling yourself, if you feel like you can't do a thing, even when it's scary like that, you keep telling yourself, I am possible. And remember, I don't believe the word impossible, but I do believe in all of you. All right, let's see what else we have here. We have, let's see, Turtletoad. Turtletoad, you're on the air. What do you got for us, Turtletoad? You got a story you want to share?
Wait, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Come on up here.
Okay.
Get up here in front of the screen, man. You can feel Allspace famous. Get up here. What do you got for us?
Before I start, I just want to say this is not my story. This is about Stephen Hawking's. So.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I like Stephen
So before I'm sorry if this sounds weird, but just this isn't my story. This is his, and I just wanted to tell everyone. So so basically, Stephen Hawking, like, he was a student, and he started to he started to show symptoms of, I think it's called something like amyotrophic lateral. I don't remember, but
I'm not sure
really
either, but I
bad
know it's
disease.
a degenerative disease. You know, it breaks down his body really bad.
So his disease started to progress, and in a couple of years he became completely paralyzed. After a surgery on his throat, he lost the ability to speak. However, this didn't like really stop him, and he got married twice. He raised 3 different children and became one of the most like important scientists of our time. And I just wanted to like say that because like I know I haven't used the word impossible yet, but like it didn't really stop him from doing what he wanted to do, and without him I think science would have taken years for us to progress in science.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and then for those of you who don't know, Stephen Hawking is a world-renowned physicist and his theories have really changed the way we look at a lot of things. You know, really an incredible mind. You know, I think there hasn't been one that good since Einstein, you know. So that's a really excellent point. Yeah, you know what I'm thinking about? Yeah, I'm always looking for new stories to, you know, kind of mix up the content a little bit because I repeat some of them for those of you who've been here before. And that one is definitely worth, you know, looking into. And maybe we can, you know,
Also,
find a
I
good
just
way to
want to say
tell that.
I'm really sorry that was really short.
Oh, no problem at all. No, we're you know, happy to have you contribute. Thanks so much, Turtle. Really appreciate it. You know, I'm gonna get you off the list here. Thanks so much. Let's see. Oh, Rubio, you were on the list. I actually took you off. If you want to press that raise hand button again, you know, if let me see, where are you? I don't see where you are. Okay, if you could just press that raise hand button again, we appreciate it. It might have been Roblox, possibly. I'm not sure. Yeah. Let's see. Who was that? Who was that to press the raise hand? But all right, well, you know, I accidentally took you off the list. So if you had pressed that raise hand button, just, you know, press that again and we'll get you up here if you have a story that you'd like to share. In the meantime, since there's nobody on the list, I'll share another one. When I was in my late teens, right, I went hiking. I was getting really into like hiking and camping, and the Beanster actually just raised their hand. Let's see if we can take them. Beanster, you're on the air. Beanster, where are you? Let's see. There you are. Really? All right. And how did that make you feel when that happened?
A toy being a cartoon character while I was a robot in black and white.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that was inspiring. Everybody, round of applause for the Beanster. All right. You know, there have been a lot of stories told here, large and small, and I have to say that was by far one of the most inspiring. Absolutely. That was, wow. I don't know if I can go on. I'm touched. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to. I don't see anyone else on the list. You know, I'm going to have to press on. It's going to be hard to top. Oh, wait. We got D. Walters here to save the day. Hope I'm saying that right. Let's see. D. Walters, where are you? Let's see. There
Can you
we
guys
are.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Come on up here.
Okay. This is a story I want to tell. It's about my life. Okay. This is cool. Dude, did you come up with this idea?
With the idea for the event?
Yes, this whole thing.
Yes, my wife and I. My wife and I came up with this, yes.
Is so cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyways, okay, so I wanted to tell a story about kind of what my childhood was like and kind of where I am now and where I plan on going.
Cool.
Just in case anyone out there is like maybe going through a similar situation. Basically, when I was 8 years old, well, I feel like pretty much everyone has a point in their life where everything kind of shifted into like a certain one direction, you know? And for me, it was when I was 8 years old and my grandma died, right? And before this, my whole family was living in this huge house. Everything was sweet, you know, everything is awesome. But then she died and she was kind of like the backbone for the family. So after she died, I guess everything kind of broke apart. My parents got divorced. When they got divorced, I ended up living with my dad. My mom moved to Michigan. But when we were living with my dad, he had a gambling addiction, and his gambling addiction, and like, oh man, it kind of ruined our lives in a way because all the money that he would get from the VA, because he's a retired veteran, he would go gamble it away, like, you know, feed his addiction. And it got so bad to the point where we started, well, like it was like always didn't have a place to stay. We were living in the car. It was me and four of my siblings. And I have six siblings. It was me and four of my siblings and living in the car and staying at libraries all the time and eating ramen, like the dry packs of ramen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We would eat that in the car with each other. Like that's all we had to eat. And
Wow.
sometimes we'd have peanut butter and jelly mixed up on a plate, and that's all we had. But you know, this is where all the money was going. It was gone. He had legal fees, he had court fees. And even today, I still don't exactly know how we ended up in this position. That's just how I saw it from a child's perspective. It might have been something more. But
Wow.
yeah, for a long time. I mean, I went to 8 different elementary schools. We never would stay in one spot. I couldn't make friends. I couldn't keep them. It got to a point where I didn't want to make friends because I knew I'll probably just be leaving in like a couple of weeks whenever, you know, I'm not sure why we did that. Anyways, I say all this to say is that my childhood wasn't the best and we didn't have everything. You know, there was a lot of times where we were like sharing one bedroom together and sleeping on the floor and the utilities getting shut off. And it was just basically all our problems stemmed from lack of income or lack of like funds or lack of control over my father's addiction. And I say all this to say that now, today, that was from like about the time I was 8 years old to about the time I was probably 18, 17, 16-ish is when everything started to, you know, normalize because I started to turn into an adult and gain the ability to take care of myself. Because as a child, you don't have a way out, you know, you just kind of just, anyways. Today, I'm in my own apartment. I rented out my sister. It's $1,000 a month, but we're able to afford it because of our jobs. We're both starting school in a month. I have my own car. I have all my utilities stay on.
That's awesome.
Everything, you know, I have friends. I can keep them because I'm in one spot, and it's all because of me because I didn't let my environment and how I grew up
Wow.
affect the way that I thought because I see it all the time when people grow up in this. You can either become part of it, you know, and become and like stay in that cycle of just bad decisions and like
Yeah.
money problems and just, you know, lack of planning and all those things, or
Mm-hmm.
you can like take it when you're growing up and so okay, but or you can take that, see that, and be like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. This is not something that I like. I've already experienced this. What else is there? You know, like I've already seen what it's like to live like this. Now my only other choice is to do better because I feel like you only have two choices in life. A lot of the times, it's like this or this, and for me, it was like keep living like this, keep existing like this, or figure a way out of it. So I'm going to school this year to become a dental hygienist. And in Oklahoma, they actually get paid $70,000 a year. And I'm really hyped. It's going to take me 5 years, 4 to 5 years, but I'm excited to have a plan and I'm
Good for
excited
you.
to
That's
see
awesome.
things change. And that's my story.
You know, wow. Thank you for sharing that, D. Walters. That's awesome. That's good. That's awesome. I love hearing how people can turn their lives around. That's amazing. Great stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Now, listen, I'd like to share something with you guys if I can. We're going to something that we once thought was impossible is these two buttons here, right? And one of these buttons does something special that we're about to show you. But before I show you that, listen, if you go to altvr.com, right, up in the upper left, you're going to notice where it says channels. And if you press on that channels, you're going to see all these all space event teams. And what you can do is you'll notice Ravenhall events down toward the bottom, like it says on that back wall. If you press that, you get taken to our event page. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. If you press the join Discord button, you can be taken to our Discord if you'd like to say hello or help us put on events like this. But also in the upper right, there is the most important button on the internet. It's the subscribe button. And if you press this, it lets Allspace know that you enjoy our content. We don't get paid to do this, and it's a great way to say thank you. We feel good every time that number goes up. Even better when our YouTube subscribers go up. We like that a lot. But before we head on out, at the end of our events, we always take everybody flying with us. All right. And today's no different. What we're going to do is we're going to press that button, and you guys are going to see a Ravenhall Town hovercraft come up over that wall, which is an aircraft that you can fly if you like. And it's going to come up over. It's going to land down on that landing pad right there and take us all out to Ravenhall Flight Academy. All right. So let me go ahead and press that and watch what happens. Direct your attention to that wall and press this button.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position. Please stay clear of the landing pad. Thank you.
Okay, here it comes. All right, now you're going to see it come up over this wall here. All right, and it's going to fly right across, and we can go up these stairs here and meet it up top. All All right, it's going to guide us out, and we're going over the academy. If you haven't learned how to fly in alt space yet, you'll be able to learn how to do that. All right, and check this out. I'm going to unmute everybody now in case you want to talk amongst yourselves. That's cool. And thank you all for joining us
Talon
today.
aircraft is now boarding for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Pile on in, and see you guys later.